Welcome back to the Holistic Hive podcast. Again, this is Dr. Christina Kill, and I am excited to have Beth Hardy join us. I've known Beth for how many years?
8 years.
8. I love it. I love our history, and I love what we get to do. And so Beth has been a doula for many years, and then she started Heart Tones Birth Services. How many years has it been?
2015, almost 10 years now.
So here's what's so cool. I think you were one of the first business owners that took on this collaborative approach of saying, I can't do it all.
Yeah.
I'm okay not doing it all, and I'm going to bring in other people because the burnout rate and the life of a doula. So can you first? It is. It's so crazy. Yeah. So help us, if you don't mind, give us kind of a why you did it and what it, because it's awesome.
Totally. So I started Heart Tones when I moved here to Salt Lake in 2015, and it was just me, which is most doulas just do that. They just start out on their own, they work as the solo practice, and that's great for a long time. And I knew I wanted to have kids, and that was a process too. And so eventually, having my own kids, I realized I wanted to stay in the birth world, and I still wanted to be a doula, but I also knew that I couldn't sustainably do both. Have my kids at home and then also be at births at 4 a.m. for 20 hours and then come back home and try to be a mom, and it just didn't feel great. And so for probably a year I debated having a partnership, doula partnership, and I put it out there. I found a partner. She was amazing. Her name's Chelsea, and we were together as a partnership for a year and a half, and right before COVID. So it was all COVID. We kept each other afloat, which was really amazing, and I learned so much from just having another doula in my life. One thing about doulas is we work solo, and so we don't get to see each other really do work, and so just having the chance to watch her do how she does prenatal sessions and how she does births and how she does postpartum, it really helped me to build my confidence as my skills. So we were together for a little bit, and then she went back to 9 to 5 work, and she was actually the one who was you can do an agency, and I was I don't think I can. I just felt nervous. Anything when you jump to the next level of your business, it's always can I do that? Is it too much? Who am I to even do that? Is always my thought. Who am I to do that? I'm no one. I shouldn't be able to do that. But she was very encouraging, and I decided to put it out there to the doula community here in Utah. Hey, I'm taking on a couple doulas to start an agency instead of a solo practice. And I hired my first 3 doulas immediately because I was going to do 1 extra doula, and then I was okay, I have to do 3 because they're all awesome. And now I have 15, and we're always growing, and doula work is it ebbs and flows so much. So doulas will be in the field for a while, and then they'll take a break for a while and come back, and so it's very flowy. I wouldn't say I have doulas that are always on call for 3 years. It's they take breaks. So at the moment we have around 15 people on the team.
But here's what's cool. So what I'm hearing is what it provides is an atmosphere that someone can do it, pull back to their life and have balance, and not really lose momentum. Because you're keeping the momentum going, and then they can re-engage. How cool.
It's really nice.
What a great opportunity for families.
Yeah, it works really well for the doulas, and it works I think what the team gets the most out of working with Heart Tones, from what they've told me, is first of all, just having a group mentality of we are all here for each other. We have our Slack channels where we talk about different topics and throw out questions. And even if someone's out of birth, hey, this is happening right now. This doctor just said this. Do you guys know about that? Or they're offering this new thing. And I don't know, just whatever. They'll put it out to the team, and we can all give our input, which is really helpful. And then we also have a monthly mentoring meeting at my house where we do different topics. We have people come in and present on different topics. I should have you come in and present on chiropractic. I just realized that I'm saying it so much out loud. I'm oh my god, we haven't had a chiropractor come yet. So the doulas are always learning more and kind of, honing their skills. And so I think that they get a huge benefit of working for Heart Tones too. And then the benefit of being a contractor is they can still have their own practice too. They can work with other agencies. There's no non-compete. It's
cool.
They're not only with Heart Tones necessarily. And so they have that flexibility too.
You know what? It's so nice. I want to keep on talking business for just a little bit longer as well, because I think this can really resonate. Is especially as a woman-owned business, mom, how do I balance family? How do I do this? How do I do it all? And what it is saying, you know what? I don't need 100% loyalty from you either, because I understand your loyalty is actually pulled in many directions, and that's appropriate and okay and lovely that I can recognize that. So, hey, if you want to engage in this group, we provide that opportunity. Yep. And it's not, I always love the word competition. Are you so afraid of the other doctors down the road? I'm like, nope, not at all, because if we do this right, it's collaborative, and we only, our communities only need more help, more support. Right. And I want to talk postpartum and everything else, but I want to stay with business, because I want to jump to the last part that you had mentioned, this really nerd out, geek out, huge opportunity that, what is it, 2-3 weeks? Is it not very long, maybe longer?
It's 4 months.
No, I know that you just found out. How long?
I found out about a month ago.
Yes, and so I want to make sure I do this. So you were accepted, so you had to apply, and we're going to get a little bit, accepted to the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Fellowship. This is such a huge freaking deal. So tell us a little bit of what that means and what is going to happen for you in this next year.
Yeah. So Goldman Sachs put this out to, it's nationwide. They have a location here in Salt Lake City, and basically it's a free program. So you get accepted into it. I'm not paying anything out of pocket. I'm paying with a lot of time and dedication, but no money. And so they're doing it to help small businesses grow. And so what it looks like is it's about a 4-month program. I go once a week in person, all day. I do projects on my own, and it's really digging into the business side of things. And what I love about it is it's not birth related,
right?
Which is means I'm going to be in a room with 30 other business owners. Maybe 1 or 2 might be in the wellness space or the birth space, maybe, but it'll be a chiropractic office and a construction company and a restaurant and a clothing store and me and other people, and we have these little pods of 5 or 6 people that we all have our mentors and stuff. And I'm so excited to get input from people who are not in the birth field, because I think that it's so useful to be here's my business, what do you think, what is missing, what am I doing well, what am I not doing well, from someone who has no investment in the birth side of things, because that's one piece of it. Of course, it's we're focused on birth, but as the business owner now, my job is to help to continue to grow the business so that there is still a business to have, right? And the doulas can have work and all that stuff. So I can't wait. I start in January of 2025, and I'll let you know how it goes afterwards.
We may actually do one of these again. Because it really, I think you just said it so well, is that so many times we stay in our niches. I think doulas, I think it's one reason we get along so well, is that we're kind of renegades. But as a renegade, it becomes really an island. And you can feel very much it's I see it this way, and this way is a really good way to see it. But I didn't even think about this. And that's a great idea. That is we can learn from business, and I also will bring the lens of you're service oriented to people. And a lot of people try to apply product business to service oriented business, and it doesn't work. And so I'm one of going, no, I love these mindsets because we can clean up the business side. But when we actually are taking care of people, you need to have that lens of taking care of people, and how wonderful it is to be able to bring this to the in a business way that's only going to grow and enhance the birthing world and the postpartum world. So I want to talk postpartum. So that's one thing you mentioned. I'm assuming that's a little bit more of a passion project that's become. So tell me a little bit about what happened for you from being a birth doula to where did you see the need? I didn't even know about postpartum doulas when I was having my kids. I so joke I should have another kid just for the experience of actually having postpartum care. I think I really believe my postpartum depression, all those things wouldn't have happened had I had support. So give us a little bit of understanding.
So basically there's birth doulas and there's postpartum doulas, and there's other kinds of doulas too, but those are the ones that I focus on. And birth doulas support you in your pregnancy, and then up to in your labor and your birth, and a little bit in the first week postpartum, a little bit. But postpartum doulas, their whole focus is helping you adjust to new parenthood, and that can look a couple weeks of support, a couple months of support, whatever you need. We do daytime and overnight shifts. And so we're giving you information, we're introducing you to how to do different things, how to soothe your baby when they're super fussy at 5:30 p.m. and they're really gassy and you don't know how to make them stop crying, how to wear them in that giant wrap you got as a gift that's 25 feet long. You're I don't even know what this is. How to bathe them, how to deal with the diaper rash that's happening, all these things, sore nipples, whatever's happening in your body, your baby's body, we can help to provide information and ideas and support. And then a big part of what makes postpartum doulas different than like a night nurse, for instance, which is their whole focus is just the baby. Our focus is the family. So we're there to hold space for all of the emotional pieces that are coming up postpartum, for partners, for other siblings, for the mom, and also to provide hands-on support with whatever they need in the home. And so, your doula might come in and check in with the mom, talk about how it's been going. They might wear the baby on them while they do your dishes, fold your laundry, make a snack for you, get your dog walked, like whatever else you need, while also holding space for that emotional piece. And so it's a really important thing. I think a lot of people are learning now about it a little bit more. We're getting a lot more postpartum inquiries, which is amazing. And people understand, especially, Salt Lake is a place where people are moving all the time from other places. And so they're not connected to family. They don't have their support system. And they just know, they don't want to be alone in the first weeks or months of their postpartum time. They want to have that support. So we love it. And overnights are heaven for new parents, where it's you have someone else who's taking care of the baby the whole night. If mom is breastfeeding, we bring the baby into the mom, have her breastfeed, and then take the baby out again. And they don't have to ever turn on their brain and think about what happens now. Baby's fussing and I need to clean the bottles and my pump parts are dirty, and we're doing all of that while folding your laundry and getting your kitchen cleaned up, and you wake up to coffee in the morning. It's it's awesome.
It's life changing.
Yeah.
Really, you look at that of going, it's huge, because not even with us moving, we're not living around our families as much anymore. And so it's this is the way that you're bringing in family, you're bringing in love, you're bringing in that support, you're bringing in no judgment.
Yeah. No.
I think that's the other thing to understand. It's really is someone who's there to just kind of love on you. Yeah. You're hiring someone to take care of you, which is so wonderful. Yeah. So I have a two-part question with it, because there's I would love to know, how do you find a good postpartum doula? What should you look for in a doula? I'm going to say on both sides. And then what should you expect, even within investment? A lot of people are planning for birth, but they're not planning for the postpartum. Totally. So how can we prep people for that?
Good point. Yeah. So basically, with any doula, I think there's some certain questions that you're going to want to look into or find out about them. First of all, what is their experience like? Have they worked with clients that are in your situation? Let's say you're birthing at a hospital. Okay, have you worked at this hospital before? What's your experience with my provider? And not to say that every doula has to have been with every provider at every hospital, but do they have that confidence of being yes, I've seen a lot. I understand the process of birth and postpartum. For postpartum, it's okay, do you have does your family, you're hiring a doula, do you have any certain, cultural aspects of rituals, postpartum rituals that you want to incorporate, spiritual rituals, what's important to your family specifically? Are there other siblings? Is this doula familiar with how to interact with toddlers and newborns and how to do that? So it's just kind of talking through with your prospective doula what your personal circumstances are and what's important to you. I also think it's important to share about who you are as a family, your identity and who's in your family and how you interact as a family, what's important, so that doula can figure out, are they a good fit or not for your family. And then as far as logistically, price wise, and what to expect with that. So birth doulas, that's one piece. So birth doulas, I would say, range in Salt Lake City area from $1,000 to $3,000, and that's what you should expect to pay. Insurance is trying to dabble into the birth doula world. It's not really catching on quite yet, so there's not a lot of other ways to pay. Some people who work for bigger companies, especially tech companies here, have a new benefit called Carrot that they pay for doulas, so that's super awesome. So if you work for that kind of company, ask your people in your company if you have that.
Huge. Yeah,
it's great. And then for postpartum support, I would say it's between $40 to $50 per hour.
Okay.
And sometimes it's different for twins or multiples, or nights can be a little bit different. But for us at Heart Tones, it's $45 an hour, no matter if it's days or nights. And I think it's $47 or $48 an hour for twins or multiples. And so expect around $2,000 for your birth, around depending on how much you get postpartum. I would say most of our clients start with 80-ish hours, and that's about $330, $600, something like that. And so it is an investment. And it's like a really, really helpful and important investment. So it's one of those things. It's like anything that's out of pocket is tricky because it's like, well, okay, we also want to like get a midwife, or we want to have a lactation consultant, or we want like, these are a lot of things. And so it's important to think about what are your goals as a birthing parent? Like, what is important to you? And then also, at Heartstones, we're lucky enough to have a donor that's donated 3 years in a row now that lets us basically provide scholarships and sliding scale. So if people need like financial support and can't quite afford that whole price, we can do a percentage off. We even do full scholarships sometimes for births, and just are able to do several of those a year. So we try to make it accessible to as many people as possible. And that's what it looks like.
Well, and I look at this, I think you said it really well, and I'm going to just totally go there for you and for your company as well. So many times we will plan for the birth, but not for being a parent. We plan for the wedding, but not the marriage. It's like all these things that we joke about, and then we go, now we're in crisis. And when we're in crisis, and the extreme example of crisis is shaken baby, and abuse and neglect, because the parents aren't ready, aren't supported, aren't heard. The birthing parent is going through these huge hormonal shifts, and so I look at this of going, is it worth potentially selling a car for it? Yes. Yes, it would be. Because this can change your life. And this is really one that, like, I joke, it's like, I wish I knew. Like, I look at all my births and go, I was shoved right back into practice way too early. And that's partly on me, or not knowing about support. But even, like, the dance I did with my kid's dad, and the support there. And it's just like, I think sometimes you expect, and it's going to lead into, like, we expect our partners to know and to figure it out. And yet we can't always communicate what it is that we need, because we don't know what we need, because we're in crisis as well. And I think it's really one that then the poor partner is over there going, I'm trying to help, and everything I do is wrong. Is often, I think, where they really feel, and it's just like, or they feel like, now I've lost my love, I've lost my partner, because now you worry about the baby, not me, and now we lose this connection or potential for. And I don't want to talk all to the bad, but I want to bring those things up because we don't talk about them.
Totally.
And we say, well, ever since this happened, I can see a shift, and I go, but that's why we got to be proactive. And I think this is where, to me, and I want to talk partners, because a lot of partners, I think, are afraid of a doula because they're afraid that they're going to take their place. And I go, just the opposite. They're actually going to make you look like a superstar. So I want you to talk to that as well, because a lot of partners, I think, if they understand what a doula, birth and postpartum really is meant to do, it's going to make you look like a rock star, and they should be the ones that are like, we need to hire a doula. But I want you to speak to it, because you're in it all the time, and it's a life, I think it's a couple's beautiful thing that can provide a space that may not be provided otherwise.
Totally. I think the specific dad, okay, so he went with it, she wanted to hire me, and he was like, okay, I don't know, which is like most partners, like, whatever. I don't even know what that is, but like, if you're, okay, I'll go with it, right? And he wrote postpartum, he wrote later like a little thing about how his experience was, and he was like, I just went with it because I didn't know what a doula was, and then I realized, like, we got to the hospital, and A, she like communicated with the staff, B, she made the space feel so comfortable, and like changed the lighting and made it smell good, and like all these little things that made my wife feel so much more calm and centered and focused. And then he said, and then she went into beast mode, and we had a 36-hour labor that was insane and so hard, and Beth was like right there, and there was a moment where she took my wife's head in her hands and looked in her eyes when she was getting an epidural as she's having a contraction, and he was like, and she even said later, she's like, my husband, we took 6-week birth classes, he was like a deer in headlights, he still was just like, I don't know what to do in this moment and what's happening, and can feel really out of depth. And as the doula, it's like, my role is to help partners to help their partner. My role is to support the whole family. And what that can look like a lot of the time is helping make sure partners know what's going on. Make sure they know what they can be doing to support the birthing person. A lot of times, like in postpartum too, I'll have a partner like step aside with me and be like, is everything okay? Like, I don't know what to do. Is this normal? Like, they're asking, like, she's crying right now. Is that okay? And and they just want that reassurance of okay, is my partner okay? Is there something I need to be doing differently, or how can I support them? Because none of us like to see our partners struggling, whether that's emotionally or physically in pain. And so the doula's role a lot of times is to reassure the partner of what's going on, to let them know straight up either something's wrong, we need to do something about it, or this is all normal. And then to let them know that they're doing a great job and what they can be doing even more to potentially support their person. So a lot of it is just kind of holding the space for both of them to experience the birth or postpartum time. We're like a little fairy godmother in the background that's just fixing things and making it all good so that they can have this really intimate, powerful experience of bringing a baby into the world and raising a child. So that's part of what I think about. And then you said something a minute ago and I forgot what it was. It made me want to say, I think another thing that postpartum doulas can do, and birth doulas, I guess, is to help our clients to release societal expectations of what their birth should look like or their postpartum should look like. And we can help to bring them back down to earth instead of them, they shouldn't be on social media, first of all. Social media sucks so bad when you're pregnant. It's such a horrible place to look because you get so much images of perfect parenting and what you're doing wrong. And there's literally, everything's contradictory, right? And I remember walking into the house of one of my postpartum clients, and it was she was probably 4 days postpartum. And I walked in for my postpartum visit with her. I'd been her birth doula. And she just burst into tears when she saw me. And she was trying to breastfeed, and she was like, I hate this. I hate breastfeeding. It hurts. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good in my body. And she needed me to come to her and be like, stop breastfeeding. Stop breastfeeding. To give her permission. To say I don't care what you've seen and what you think is the best for your baby. You are the best for your baby as a whole human in yourself and embodied in yourself. And if that means that you're formula feeding or you're whatever, pumping or whatever you're doing, please do that starting now. And it's sometimes people just need that reality check of I don't care what you've heard is right. You need to do what feels right for you, including stopping breastfeeding or including having an epidural for your birth or having a hospital birth, right? It's
or having a planned C-section. And whatever it is that we want to put these words on, it's no. Yeah. All of these are options. We say time and place appropriate. Yeah. We're an advocate for the birthing mom. Yeah. But we're an advocate for what's best for you in your stage of life.
Exactly. Yep.
I think it's so important to, we know what the research is saying to us is that moms when they feel empowered and heard in birth, no matter how their birth went, they feel good about it. Yeah. When they feel like they were ignored or things were done against their will, then that's where the trauma starts and that's where the trauma continues. I think it's also one that I'd love to have you answer this. Say I'm planning a medical birth. Yeah. And we use those words because obviously we're holistic, so we're going to assume one way. And I'm planning a medical birth. I want an epidural as quickly as possible. I don't want to feel a thing. So I don't need a doula, correct?
No. Okay, that's one huge misconception. Right. Okay, first of all, I don't even know where to start with this one. It's so funny. And I have had that. People ask me that, or they're I'm not going to hire a doula because of this. I'm getting an epidural. Okay. So many things. So, first of all, labor is long and often, and labor is inherently unpredictable, first of all. So I always tell people in my birth classes, if you're planning to get an epidural, mentally also prepare that you don't get an epidural. What happens if you don't?
Thank you.
What happens if your labor happens fast and you don't get an epidural? Or if you're someone who's there's no way I'm ever going to get an epidural. Epidurals are the worst. I'm going to birth it out of the hospital. What if you have to get an epidural? What if that's the best choice for you in that moment? And take the judgment off of that. It's not good or bad. It's just a tool. And labor. Most people labor for many hours before they get an epidural. Even if they wish they could get one earlier, they cannot get one because the hospital will not admit them if they are not dilated enough.
Right.
So if they go to the hospital and they're like 2 centimeters and they're like, this sucks, I want to get an epidural right now, they're going to say, I'm so sorry, go home in labor and we'll see you in 8 hours. And the person's like, what?
And I don't know what to do.
What? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to cope with this intensity. So that doula is going to teach you how to cope with the intensity so that you can manage it and you're not just like in terror and pain. You're like, okay, I can do this, I can do this. And then you get to the hospital when you're more dilated and you get your epidural. That's great. Another thing about epidurals is that people think that, well, there's people think all sorts of things about epidurals, but one thing is that they're going to stay in the bed and just lay there.
Right.
And that that doula isn't important because, like, well, I'm just going to lay there, so why am I paying you to sit here? Yeah, I'm not going to feel anything. Okay, so many things. So epidurals work most of the time. And there are times where they don't work fully or they're working on part of the body and not the whole area. And you still need to move around in labor, period. You have to move around if you want labor to progress quicker and your baby to move down. It's like, yes, you can technically, I guess, theoretically lay on your back for 12 hours and still have a baby, maybe. But it's going to go so much smoother and your baby's going to get moving down through your pelvis more and easier if you're moving around. And so that doula is going to help you physically and show your partner, hey, let's have this birthing person move from their side to side. Let's get them on their hands and knees, even though they have an epidural on the bed. You know, let's get them into a squatting position. Let's stretch their legs out and massage them and get them comfortable, even though just because you don't feel what's happening, your body's still working really hard and your muscles are going to be really tired the next day. And so your doula is still physically helping you and supporting you. And helping you push with an epidural. Like, pushing is different with an epidural. You need more coaching, potentially, and it's, like, a little more, you have to think about it a little bit more. And so your doula is going to help to coach you through that, too, and make sure that your providers are still listening to you and encouraging you and supporting you, and no one's just ignoring you because you have an epidural now. Anyway, I have so many thoughts about epidurals. I think they're a great tool when they're necessary. I'm not a doula who's like, oh, you only have to have unmedicated birth. Like, that is such BS to me. And I think, you know, most of our clients that work with heart zones, and most clients I think that work with any doula, are birthing in a hospital and are using an epidural. So let's be real. Like, an out-of-hospital birth without an epidural is beautiful and can be beautiful and can also be really, really hard. And it's like, that shouldn't be the ideal. I think that whatever the ideal is what is best for the person. Anyway, I could go on and on.
No, and that's why we do this. I love it.
On.
And here's what, to me, is what brings us back. We'll kind of circle back and help wrap this up in a beautiful way. I always recommend, when I give recommendations for doulas, I always say they need to hit here.
Yes.
And I think this is one that, it's like I'm smiling this entire time you're talking because I'm just like, girl, I'm 100% with you. Like, literally my cheeks hurt. And so I love it because it's really one of them, when you find your people, a doula can be like, oh, I found her.
Yes.
And that's, to me, like, if we can't have our family be with us, and I'm even going to make a plug, your sisters, your mom, your aunts may not have ever done a birth like you're going to want to have. And so actually, even though your family could be supportive, they actually could be the ones that could create a lot of chaos. And so I always am one of them, you should really seriously consider a doula because when you find this person, you go, oh, like, I can be real and I can be vulnerable and I can be open with you because I can be safe with you. I think this is one of the most beautiful things that you've brought to the perspective, especially within our conversation, is we should not be judgmental. And we just need to all understand, like, I've realized in my own spiritual journey that as I look back at organized religion, and I'll say that, and I'll go there, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I was more judgmental than I realized. I didn't think I was.
We all have that in our lives.
Yes, we do.
Look back and be like, ooh, I could be
a little cringy.
Different.
Yes. And so I think what is so nice is just to acknowledge that and go, release it. And bring someone on board that's going to say, you know what? What's best for you? In this birthing journey, in your postpartum journey, what is best for you may not be the best for the next person. And that's totally what's great about this. And when you find this, like, no reason they get pregnant again because they want another experience. And they want to do this again. And it makes the partner it allows them the space to rise. And to me, one of the most beautiful things about labor, birth, and postpartum, and I'm going to put all those together, is that with the right support, the couple grows closer with each other. And that's really, to me, where the miracle, the beauty, the ability, the opportunity is given. and it's a sacred space.
Yeah. Oh, one of my favorite things to like witness, a couple of things, like about birth, one of my favorite things to witness, first of all, is a birthing person finding a strength within them that they did not even know existed, that they were convinced they did not have. Doesn't matter if it's medicated, unmedicated, like either way, you're going to have to, at some point in your labor, let go of control, whether it's going to either be ripped from you or you can let go willingly, but you have to let go of control, and you have to dig into yourself to find a place of strength that you didn't know you had. And that's one thing I just absolutely love seeing is clients coming into their strength. Another thing I love seeing is if I'm like behind someone who's doing a hip squeeze, because it feels really good during contractions to squeeze your hips potentially, or to push on your sacrum, and I'm doing that while their partner is in front of them. I could cry, like looking into their eyes, kissing them, they're smelling each other, they're in this like total other world. They are not here, they're somewhere else, and they're just they're in it. And that partner may not feel like he would be able to do that if he didn't have, knowing that there's someone in the space who's also helping her physically right now, who's also giving you ideas and suggestions and making sure everything's okay. It allows the couple to fully be in the moment of this experience, which I think can help them to both come into parenting in a more confident way, in a more connected way. Not that it's not going to be hard still. There's still hard moments always in parenting, but at least you can be a team instead of that birthing person feeling alone in their birth, and then going into their postpartum time. So, I just love supporting the partners, and yeah, it's my favorite.
I love what this gives people to know, and know that you're not alone, you're supported, you're loved, you're rooted on, you're advocated for. Yeah. That's to me what birth should be and could be. I guess let me say that. If I'm going to say it should, it should be empowering in every way and supported, and that's what we can do, and we can provide that in the community. So how do people get in touch with your agency?
Yeah, so HeartTonesBirth is our .com, is our website, and through there you can read about what we do. All the bios of the different doulas are on there, our services are listed on there, and then you can get in touch. And whenever people get in touch, they have a consult with me first, as a way to just explain what we do in the agency and our pricing, all that stuff. And then I connect them with a doula. I'm kind of the matchmaker. I'm like up here doing this. I'm like, ooh, they're going to fit really well with this doula. Oh, I love this doula for you. And they have a consult and decide if it's a good fit. They don't have to commit if it's like, we didn't jive for whatever reason, and they meet with a different doula. But most of the time they meet with that doula and they're like, oh my God, like, yes.
How did you know?
How did you know? That's part of my job. And what's important is like what fits for each client, right? And so they meet with the doula, and then I handle all the like logistical contracts and all that good stuff. And then they have their doula, and that doula is going to check in with them throughout their pregnancy and give them suggestions of where to go for chiropractic, which is here, and where to go for acupuncture, and where to get a massage, and all these good things. And then they're going to be there with them through the birth, and it's just fantastic. So yeah, HeartTonesBirth.com. We're also on Instagram, HeartTonesBirth, and that's the best way to get in touch with us.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Beth, for being here. I so appreciate this. So I created this podcast a few years ago because I really want people in Utah to know what was here. We have such a unique, beautiful opportunity to go, no, we've got so many resources.
We really do.
We just need to look within. And if you're not in Utah and you're listening to this and go, I want to find this, I have a feeling I'd still say, reach out. Yeah. Beth will probably help you find someone in her area, in your area, because that's how we feel as providers. That we're heart-centered and go, it doesn't have to be us. Yeah. Find someone who does this for you, because health is a journey. Yeah. Health is finding the right people to support you along the way, and letting providers help be guides and leaders within your life, and know that you're not alone. And ultimately, you are responsible for your health, which is also an awesome opportunity to own that and find that power within that. Yes. I love what you said, and I remember a quote, and I'll finish with this one as well and give you a thought. And I don't have the words perfectly, but it's transition is called that because a woman has to lose her maidenhood as she brings on motherhood. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I love that, because so the maiden in her can't survive. Yeah. Yeah, and she now comes out as this amazing mom, and this opportunity to go, you find the power in yourself, and it's so beautiful to be part of that. And thank you for the service you give.
Oh my gosh, to this community. I mean, I'm just grateful I found this work, because it's what I need to be doing, and it feels so fulfilling. And thank you for making space for for this conversation to happen and for people to get the information that's going to help them have a more empowered experience with their birth and postpartum time. So, yay. Hooray. Babies.
Babies, bring it on. Go make more babies. You've got support.
Thank you.
Thank you.